Hello and welcome to another LOTRO beta video with me, Balthelion, and today we're having a look at the main menu UI changes and also the Dwarf Avatar update, which is just updating the look and appearance of the dwarfs' faces, also their beards and decorations, much as the man and the elf avatar update happened with the Mordor launch. So as you can see straight away, it looks completely different. So the old UI, it kind of used to scale pretty badly. If you had larger screen resolutions, like particularly like wide screens, it would just kind of stretch the graphics a bit, and I hopefully should in the editing process be able to compare and contrast this to the old look, just so you can kind of see the difference. But the immediate thing that jumps out of you, besides the fact that I'm obviously on a completely different Hobbit background to normal, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot crisper, it's a lot more sort of rectangular in all the appearances. You know, there's not really like the rounded buttons anymore. I quite like it. I just think it's a lot nicer and crisp. It's obviously, I mean, I'm sure it still works on the old 4:3 resolution monitors, but on a wide screen it looks a hell of a lot nicer than it used to. It's a lot crisper. Obviously, you're still going to have all the hover over effects, and I particularly love the hover over effect on the enter middle earth button, which if you hover over it, not only does the button go yellow, but you kind of get this like pulsing line of light like moving up the ring, which I can do this all day. I love that effect. It looks a lot nicer, and it's it's still a big button to say, you know, like click here to get into the game, but it wasn't as blocky as the old one, which was pretty horrible, really. But I see the big noticeable change you're going to have now is each race has its own background. So as we can see, this is the Hobbit one, where we have Bag End in the background with the big tree on the top of the hill, and if we spin it around, we can't really see down to the party tree or anything like that, but it should be down there. I don't know if it's so far below us or whether it's just not been rendered in, but obviously we've got the Shire in the background, kind of looking south from Bag End over that direction. So like Mickle Delving should be over that way. Yeah, it's a lot nicer than the old one where you were kind of like on a hill somewhere on a little plinth near Mickle Delving that didn't really exist. The High Elves, much as we've seen already, they already have their like funky background that we've got here. So this is the same one that's on live. I don't think they've added any new details that I can see, at least. So the race of man. Now, regardless of where your origins are, your man characters will now be outside Minas Tirith, where we're going to get someday in the Let's Play. It's going to be a while before we get there, though. So we've got some Dol Amroth Knights in the background there with their Swan Knight armours. A few guys in tents out here carrying the White Tree and Seven Stars banner. We have Minas Tirith in the background, White Tower of Balthelion in the background. That's pretty cool. So looking over towards East Gondor, can just about see Esgaroth in the background over there as well. But we're just kind of like outside on the fields of Pelennor, kind of about southeast from Minas Tirith. Then if we go on the other tabs, Dwarf. There we go. So we are inside Erebor with the dwarf characters. So it's kind of like a bit Thorin Hall-esque. You've still got the dwarven architecture, the same as you'd find in like Moria or something else, but obviously with a bit of a new splash of graphics. It's not just reused Moria textures or anything like that. A couple of halls off to the sides. You know, it's pretty nice. Going up to a big throne room at the back there. But there's loads of intricate carvings and so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. Buildings are still on their old background as well. I don't know if this is going to change, whether they're quite happy to leave it like this. But you're obviously over at Beorn's Lodge, over on the Vows of the Anduin, which has not quite been roped into the main landscape, but maybe at some point they might add another region up in the north that could potentially, I guess, connect Lothlorien to North Mirkwood. They could do like a Vows of Anduin kind of region. Which would cover this kind of region. The regular elves, if we spin it around, so I'm not entirely sure if this is meant to be Lothlorien. I would assume so from the gold leaves, but obviously this is nowhere that we can actually get to in game. But they do seem to have like Lothlorien kind of clothing and that as well as the architecture. So we're just inside, presumably, one of the houses in there. Although there's none of them in game that are actually big enough to have an indoor area this big. But I think that's pretty cool. It would be nice if they had some of these actually in game that you could explore, like an interior location. So yeah, that's elf, high elf, dwarf, hobbits, man. I think that's all of them, isn't it? Or have I missed one? Hobbits, man. I think that's everyone. But yeah, that looks a lot nicer anyway. So let's create a new character, and we're going to make it a dwarf character. So obviously the whole character creation process is obviously using the new UI as well. So it's kind of move stuff around, so your classes are now on the right hand side rather than down the bottom. So we're going to select a dwarf, which puts us in Erebor. We don't really care too much about what we're going to go for. So yeah, let's make it a champion. So where we have our lore as well, we also get like a funky little picture, but it doesn't seem to change at the moment. So I don't know whether that's just placeholder graphics. They might put in some new funky pictures. It'd be nice if they did, even if it's just screenshots from the in-game. It doesn't have to be like fancy art or anything like that. So you've still got your original locations. Iron Hills is actually not too far outside of the region that we're currently in at the minute. So as we can see here, immediately we've got the difference between avatar update on and off. We're going to go through a few of these options, just compare and contrast it. But the general theme, like with the man and the elf updates, is to kind of like make everything a bit less jaggedy and, you know, a bit more pointy, and just smooth everything over, make it look a bit kind of like softer beards and hairstyles. Just kind of shade everything a bit gentler rather than having like these like aggressive shadings for shadows in places. So if we go for the hairs first, then I guess so hairstyle 1 on and off. Obviously we can see it's smoothed out a bit. We kind of lose a bit of detail on the braids. This is probably going to be refined a bit. This happened with the man and the elf bits, that they kind of refined the hairstyles a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if those get a bit more detail to make them stand out, but not quite as old school as the old look there. So hairstyle number 2. So I think we're probably best off doing the hair and the beard separate. So have we not got a beard off option? No. Fine. We can't shave off our beards. That would probably be a bit aggressive. So if we go hairstyle 2, and we'll also put on beard 2, I guess. Okay, so hairstyle 2 is not actually doing the new avatar update. But this one, where we kind of got the 2 prongs off to the sides, just kind of smooths it out a bit. So I think that one kind of looks quite nice on the new style. It does look like he's got a massive bit of cotton wool stuck to his chin though. But I'll say that one's an improvement over the old one. So hairstyle 3, face 3. So again, we're just having the beard only. So if you just want like a little bit of a jawline kind of beard, which is a bit pointy there actually, looking from the sides, and that kind of smooths it out a bit, makes it look a bit more softer and bushy. So yeah, I'd say that's alright. Hair 4, face 4. Okay, so this hairstyle is actually using the new style, so I think that hair looks quite nice actually. So like before, it was kind of a bit jaggedy. The little knot is in a bit of a clump there, but if we turn it back on, it looks a bit smoother, a bit more natural kind of texturing to it. I'd say that actually looks quite nice as a hair and beard combination, to be honest. So that one's quite nice. Moving on, so 4 and 5. So I don't think the hair on this one's actually doing anything, the mohawk. We're getting a bit of a head update as well there, just with our shaved head, just make it look a bit nicer for when the hair is not covering it. That's separate to the hairstyle though. So this beard here then, so we've got a bit of a big bushy beard, kind of like a moustache, which is kind of like flowing into it, and a couple of like metal rings. So on this, yeah, the metal rings don't look too pronounced. They kind of look like they're painted on, really, if I'm honest. So they could probably do with a bit more definition. But yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of that beard. The eyes look a lot nicer on this one as well. So if you compare that, this is the new eyes. It's a lot softer looking, whereas this one, he just kind of looks a bit old and tired. So I think that's quite nice. That's as far as I can scroll, unfortunately. But yeah, it looks a lot nicer. Hairstyle 6, face 6. Okay, the colours are a bit off, but so this old school one. So we've got a kind of a bit of a flat kind of mohawk, going into like a little rat tail there at the back. And again, a fairly short beard, nice big bushy moustache. And if we turn it on, so the shape of the beard and moustache has not really changed much, but it does kind of like look a bit more natural at least, so that's good. Hairstyle, I'm not really a fan of that particular hairstyle, but you know, in terms of the graphical improvement over what it used to be, it's quite nice. The little metal band there actually looks quite nice. It actually looks like a metal band is actually put on there rather than just being painted on, so I approve of that. Hair 7, face 7. So this is the bald head dwarf. So we're going to see his bald head in all its fine glory. So we can't really zoom in more, get an aerial shot of him, but it's just kind of changed the baldness texture a little bit. Back to the beard then. So we've got a fairly short beard with a little bit of a towel there, with a metal clip at the end. So if we go into the new one, we kind of like see. I'm not sure if that's meant to be a solid metal band or whether it's just like a crisscross with the beard behind it. It's really hard to tell with the new look, but you know, it looks more natural at least, so that's a good improvement. So 8 and 8. So this one actually looks quite nice actually. So this is a longer hairstyle where we've got 2 braids tied at the back into a big braid down the back, and then we've got some decoration at the bottom of the knot there and above the ears, and a couple of little bits of decoration there, and then the beard again, big bushy beard, a couple of little decorations down the bottom. So if we activate the avatar update, so again this one, it kind of looks like it's a bit painted on down the bottom, which is not great, but the hairstyle looks good. We can actually see like a nice braid there, a little bit holding in the braid. I'd say that this one at the back looks pretty good. This one looks a bit low textury though, so maybe that's something that they could tidy up a little bit, just make that nicer. But overall I'd say I quite like that hairstyle. Moving on to 9 and 9. So we take that off. This is the big beard. So we've got a hairstyle with 3 braids at the back, again just held in place by these little ties. Some decorations by the ears, and then this massive waist length beard that's not got any particular details in it. So we activate the avatar update, so it's going to smooth out both of them. So again, this just makes it look like a big soft bushy beard, whereas before it just kind of looked, I don't know, like a bit of a bear skin really, didn't it? So at least it does look a bit more hairish. The hair, I mean, I'll be honest, I really like that. I'm not really too sold on the 3 braids, but the detail on the braids, those like metal ties around it holding it in place, I think that looks fantastic, at least on the back ones. Ones near the ear could do with a bit of tidying up. If these ear ones were made to look the same as those kind of details, I'd say that would be pretty sweet. That's quite good overall. But yeah, you could maybe do like a nice, well, I'll have to see if we can get some nice hair and beard combos going on in a second. So hair 10, face 10. So this hairstyle is kind of like the last one, but the braids are being swept in a bit more. And then the beard, short beard with big moustache, with a couple of little ties on the sides there. So again, that kind of loses a bit of the contrast at the minute. It's just kind of a big dark beard. Hopefully they'll lighten up some of these beards in places to give them a bit more texture rather than being a bit solid colour. It'd be nice if some of them could be like speckled a bit grey as well, get some salt and pepper going on. Yeah, as it is, these bands don't really stand out too well on the various beards that they appear in. Hairstyle, quite nice, all sleeked back. The braids look pretty good. The ties look pretty good. I'd say that's pretty good there. Don't really know why they haven't got any ties at the bottom here. Was there ties on the old one? Yeah, there was ties on the old one, so not really sure. They just kind of like stopped being crisscrossed and then just become loose hair. Looks a little bit weird, but otherwise I'd say that's a fairly nice hairstyle. So 11 and 11. So again, we have a fairly short beard with 2 little bits coming out, and a long swept hairstyle. So this is kind of like a bit longer braids than the previous one. So we activate the update. So this one, I'd say the beard looks quite nice. At least this one, because it's a lighter brown, we can at least get a bit of contrast going in there. But that looks pretty nice for some facial hair. I mean, I don't like the design of the beard with a little handlebar beard thing going on there, but appearance wise it's nice. Again, the back, It looks nice. I mean, it could probably do with a bit more distinction of these 3 braids down the back, because it kind of looks like they're all together, and that these 3 ties are just like one item at the back, like some sort of weird sort of tiara kind of thing going on there. Whereas at least in the old one, I mean, the old one actually probably wasn't too great either, to be fair, but at least the shading made it look like there were 3 distinct ones, whereas now it kind of is, it looks like it's kind of one big one. So maybe they could add a bit more definition on that one. So 12 and 12. So the hair hasn't changed on this one. So this is kind of like a big, weird, sort of kind of like scraggly beard. I've got like the dreadlocks with some little bits of details down the bottom. So if we activate the avatar update, so yeah, I think it makes it look a bit hairier at least, like a natural hair. The hairstyle hasn't changed, so this avatar update is not in yet. But hopefully it would look a bit nicer and be less clippy through the dwarf itself. Probably still clipping armour, but at least if they can not clip it through the dwarf, that would be nice. So 13 and 13. So we have a shorter version of that previous beard we saw, just a little bit scraggledy. And then we have some short braids with some big chunky kind of like square ties on the back there. So if we activate that, so that hairstyle hasn't changed. The beard though, I'd say that looks a lot nicer if you're into like a kind of like medium length beard. Yeah, nice and smooth. It's been well groomed. I approve of that one. So 14 and 14, so we're going to run out of beards now. So this one has kind of got a bit of a flat top going on there, and again some short braids. But that's the old school hair. That's not the new one. The beard is changing slightly though. I'll be honest, this one on the old model didn't look too bad. It's kind of like fairly featured. Whereas this does at least look like a pretty well kept, short groomed beard. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying the old one was better, but the old one was pretty good as well. So I'd say they're probably on par, these two really. It's just whatever your personal preference is really. So we're out of facial hair, so we'll just leave it on that beard for now. We'll just try and look at some of the new remaining hairstyles. So that one I don't think has changed. Number 16 hasn't changed. 17 doesn't look like it's changed. 18. So we've only got partial ones. This one's changed, there we go. So this is kind of a longer hairstyle. You kind of got the big bits down the front. Quite a lot dangling down the back as well. So if we change that, so kind of looks a bit more feminine really. So if you're going to roleplay a dwarf that's actually a female dwarf, because if you didn't know, because you don't have a dwarf character, you don't actually select a gender. Dwarfs are just dwarfs because you can't really tell the dwarf males from the dwarf females, supposedly because of the beards. So if you want a more effeminate looking dwarf, maybe that's the hairstyle for you. But yeah, I'd say that's a definite improvement over the old one. Just kind of makes it look like he's been using some L'Oreal because he's worth it. So number 20. Oh, this looks quite nice actually. So that's the old one. So it's kind of like short. And then the new style. There we go. Oh, his hair moved in a weird way. It's alive. Did you see that? Oh, what's going on there? The back of his head just jumps up over here. Look, look. What's going on? It's possessed. We need a priest. What is going on? Do you see that? This bit. Demon hair. What is going on? That's weird. Apart from the weird twitching that this guy's got going on with his forehead, which I don't really know what the hell is going on there. But yeah, I'd say this looks quite nice actually, especially with a short beard. That could be quite a nice one. 21. So this looks like one of the hairstyles I've kind of got on my Hobbit, but this kind of like goes quite nicely if you want like a fairly small face, short beard, short hair kind of thing going on. So that's the old look. So just kind of keeps it just above the shoulders, with a nice like swept fringe going on. So it just tones it a bit nicer, especially if you've got a beard which has got the new avatar update. And then last but not least, number 22, but that one hasn't changed. So yeah, that's a bit strange. I don't know what's going on with that twitchy hair. That is unnerving. That is just really weird. But hopefully the twitching hair will be resolved. Hopefully as well, as further betas go on, more of the dwarf styles will be unlocked in testing before this goes live with update 22. It's possible some of them might not come till later. I don't think they've said either way at the moment. But the Hobbit makeover is still yet to come. And then presumably they'll be doing a slight touch up on the Bjornings at the very end. But since Bjornings were, until the High Elf, the last race released, the first race that was released post-launch, they kind of had a bit of a newer looking character model anyway, so they're not as old school as the ones that have been around for over 10 years now. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the new look at the main menu and the dwarf appearances. So leave a like, write some comments, but until next time, I will see you guys later.